This week on Dateline Abuja, we're talking FCT infrastructure, especially in the suburbs in Abuja. It's worsening with rapid population growth. Maybe we need to build a wall. I'm kidding. Seriously though, I believe everyone has the right to eke out a living legally anywhere they want. However, with the strain on Abuja's infrastructure, are we ignoring the elephant in the room? It sounds harsh, but is it possible that the FCT is not for everyone? We'll explain in our interview segment. Meanwhile, our focus on the FCT takes reactions of residents to this infrastructure situation in the nation's capital. And as we do every week, we give you our Abuja wrap. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. It's been an eventful week in the nation's capital, so let's get to it. Here are the major stories from Nigeria's seat of power.
President Muhammadu Buhari started the week in Durban, South Africa. He had attended the opening ceremony of the second Intra-Africa Trade Fair. He also held a bilateral meeting with the president of Afrexim Bank, Professor Benedict Orama. He returned to the country on Tuesday. The president continued his diplomatic engagements when he met with the United States Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. The meeting, which was held behind closed doors, discussed several issues. One of them is the report of the Lagos State panel on the NSAS protests.
By tackling these issues, we can help to address some of the problems that have been key drivers of insecurity. To that end, let me say that we welcome the conclusion of the investigation by the Independent of Inquiry established by the Lagos State government to look into the events that took place near Lekki toll gate in Lagos in October of 2020. This, of course, was amidst the NSARS protests, including the killings and other alleged abuses by the security forces.
As part of the visit of Mr. Blinken, Nigeria and the United States signed a number of agreements. The agreements were signed after the top U.S. diplomat met with Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo. The agreement includes a new assistance worth $2.17 billion to support Nigeria's economy. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs signed on behalf of the federal government.
We had a mechanism, a drop box mechanism that was in existence for many, many years. And unfortunately, that has now been, we hope it's suspended and it will be reinstated. But there are issues there, and we hope that the Secretary would also help to ease the visa challenges that Nigerians wishing to enter the U.S. have. We appreciate very much the support in the humanitarian area that has been extended to us, especially with internally displaced persons, and that we have in the northern part of the country. So the relationship has been extremely good.
The highest-ranking member of the U.S. presidential cabinet used the opportunity of the visit to deliver America's Africa policy speech, where he stated that Africa should no longer be regarded as a junior partner, but an equal partner in all global discussions.
The United States firmly believes that it's time to stop treating Africa as a subject of geopolitics and start treating it as the major geopolitical player it has become. The facts speak for themselves. This is a continent of young people, energized, innovative, hungry for jobs and opportunity. By 2025, more than half the population of Africa will be under age 25. By the year 2050, 1 in 4 people on Earth will be African. And Nigeria will surpass the United States as the 3rd most populous country in the world.
The U.S. Secretary of State also met with some innovators and entrepreneurs, where he assured that his country will continue to support innovation and entrepreneurship in Nigeria.
Was a remarkable spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship. And I was really eager to come here and, in a sense, see where things are, both to see some of the incredible innovative work that's been done, but also to try and understand what the environment is like for innovation, for entrepreneurship, how that can be made even better going forward. So I really wanted to hear from people who are on the front lines of this work, not only having great ideas, but as Deji said, finding the ways to make them real and to bring them to market.
Meanwhile, the president also received the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila, who led a delegation of 5, including the Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on Public Procurement, to the State House. The president also signed into law 2 bills passed by the National Assembly. They are the Climate Change Bill and the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Amendment Bill. In the meantime, the president met with participants of Senior Executive Course 43 of the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies. During that parley, President Buhari directed ministries, departments and agencies to study the NIPS report in order to implement some of the recommendations.
I am convinced that you are now well equipped for the task of handling higher and more complex responsibilities for the benefit of our country. I therefore urge you to go back to your various establishments and put to work all that you have learned. This administration has invested great efforts in the provision of good governance and has made tremendous progress at getting the desired results. This report becomes important and timely in our quest to enhance service delivery to our citizens. I assure you that the report will be treated with seriousness and urgency it deserves.
President Buhari is considering the request for the release of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, after meeting with a group under the aegis of highly respected Igbo greats led by First Republic parliamentarian and Minister of Aviation, Chief Mbazulike Amechi, at the State House. The president also presided over the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. The council approved 27.4 billion naira worth of contracts for the Ministry of Works and Housing and the FCT Ministry.
The award of the contract for the rehabilitation of the Ida to Nsukka Road, an 84-kilometer road linking Kogi and Enugu states, which council approved for the sum of 26.172 billion naira.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo attended the opening of the annual All Judges Conference, where he promised that the federal government will ensure a financially independent judiciary, which is also free of interference.
The judiciary must be independent from all forms of interference and must maintain the highest levels of responsiveness, professional standards and integrity. We will continue to partner with you in ensuring that the judiciary is financially independent and effectively and sustainably retains a preeminent position in the quality of jurists manning our courts and the jurisprudence that develops from their collective premier reasoning.
Welcome back. The strain on Abuja's infrastructure is a story almost a decade old, but the responses of residents to this strain is reaching fever pitch. Road networks in particular, housing deficits, leading to an alarmingly high rate of newly created shanties, housing both people looking for a better life as well as criminal elements who turn on the residents of the FCT. Demolitions are underway, but still, residents need to know what the plan of the FCT administration is to keep them safe and ensure sufficient infrastructure. Please watch this.
The Federal Capital Territory was created upon the promulgation of Decree No. 6 of 1976. It was carved out of the old Kwara State, old Plateau State, Niger State and Kaduna State. The territory, which has a land area of about 8,000 square meters, was dominated by the Gbagi ethnic group, among others. Prior to the takeover, the population density was sparse, with residents living in about 700 villages within the territory. However, the years that followed saw several buildings, residential and public, springing up around the area, especially in the area known as the Federal Capital Territory. The Federal Capital Territory houses the headquarters of most ministries, departments and agencies. The effect is a rise in population. Estimated at 2.5 million in 2015, the National Population Commission puts the estimated population figure for the nation's capital at 4.6 million in 2020. The rise in population means good business for residents, especially the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. However, he has his worries concerning the population growth.
It has been projected by 2050, 70% of the world population will be living in urban areas. Abuja is no exception. It has served as a magnet because it's the center of government, it's secure, it's peaceful, it's in the center of the country, and it provides tremendous amount of opportunities for young people. So this will continue. But it's something that we are trying to manage. How do we manage it? We are strengthening our institutions, increasing infrastructure within the available resources. But with urbanization and movement of people, obviously crime also increases. The need to handle urban waste increases, and so many other things.
More worrying is the impact on the state of infrastructure in the Federal Capital Territory. Concerned about the situation, the House of Representatives considered a motion on the state of infrastructure in the nation's capital.
The dearth of infrastructure, the absence of street lights, the ones that are there that are not working, makes it impossible for our citizens to be secure. Somebody is kidnapped or somebody is missing from Gariki. Lecturers are kidnapped from their homes. And schools are invaded. We are not looking for somebody who have taken money. We are looking for somebody who have hired the job, who is not doing it or doing it. If he's doing it, let him explain.
Nevertheless, the FCT minister is proposing to spend the sum of 64.9 billion naira for its 2022 national priority projects. A statement from his office states that he made the presentation to the Joint Senate and House committees on the FCT. According to the statement, the 2022 FCT budget estimates targets the sustained completion of 18 priority projects, both within the Federal Capital City and the satellite towns. Some of these priority projects include the installation of solar street lights along various roads in the satellite towns, provision of electricity to the Galuyi Shere settlement site, rehabilitation and upgrading of street lighting facilities within the Federal Capital City, design and construction of a dam, treatment plant and tanks for the water supply infrastructure to Karshi, construction of the Pape Shere Galuyi Road, extension of Phase 2 of the Abuja Light Rail Mass Transit, and the expansion of the Greater Abuja Water to 33 districts. The minister believes the FCT is a work in progress with so much to offer the country. However, he wants a special funding for the development of the nation's capital.
We have proposed a special funding mechanism for Abuja, independent of what is allocated to the federal government of Nigeria. We have also proposed that the area councils within Abuja should also be considered just like any other local government as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution as amended. And in so doing, we are conscious of the fact that based on current thinking and current laws, funding for the area local governments are done straight to them from the federation account. So we think the 6 area councils in Abuja should also, enjoy the same benefit. And in so doing, it goes to practicalize Section 299 of the Constitution, which says the FCT should be considered as if it were a state.
According to him, the FCT has about 137 ongoing projects, which could have been completed as at July 2021. But for the challenges of funding, he further disclosed that the FCT requires about 800 billion naira as at July 2021 to complete the 137 ongoing projects, adding that the FCT already had completed projects worth 82 billion naira that had not been paid for due to lack of funds.
My guest on the program is Mr. Dalhatu Ezekiel. We used to know him as the spokesperson for natives of the Federal Capital Territory who have constantly complained of housing deficits and poor infrastructure in the nation's capital. If the plan was to shut him up by giving him a government appointment, I don't think it's working. He is now the FCT Commissioner, Public Complaints Commission. He talks about the strain on Abuja's infrastructure. Over 3,000 complaints since he came into office. And if the nation's capital is home for all. Please watch this. Mr. Dalhatu, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much.
You know, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
you've
really,
been doing this.
really.
In fact, I remember, part of your movements towards, the Gbagi people, because you are from the Gbagi extraction.
Yeah.
And you were talking about some of the infrastructure issues, especially in settlements where Gbagi residents are staying in the FCT. But I want to use that to segue into something much bigger. Starting from the House of Representatives, residents generally, not just people from the Gbagi extraction, residents have been complaining about the poor state of infrastructure in the FCT. Talk to us a bit about what's going on.
Yes, I have avalanche of complaints on that. And we've been engaging the authority. In many occasions we write, sometimes we interface to raise some of these issues. And then the response is quite positive from the Minister of the FCT and the FCT administration. But I feel like any other person also will feel there should be some sense of improvement in the aspect of security, in the aspect of some of the infrastructure in the rural communities. Because even the insecurity is perpetuated by deficit of infrastructure, the absence of access road and all of that. And you know what the criminals does? They take advantage of this, they cash into it, and then perpetrate some of these years. Just like I will always say, what we can do to curtail this insecurity is very simple. One, it has to be a holistic approach to it. It has to be a bottom-to-top approach where the locals, the stakeholders, critical stakeholders will be involved for engagement. And then the locals too have some security, the vigilantes, the hunters, who knows the terrain, and this is where they live. They live in some of these rural communities. If you check the indices of the insecurity in the FCT, it's virtually zero in the urban cities.
All in the rural communities,
but
all
mostly
in
the suburbs.
Okay, so you're trying to draw a nexus between the level of insecurity that we're facing in the FCT and the infrastructure deficit, especially when it comes to roads.
Yeah.
So let's get specific. Talk to us about some of the complaints that you're getting as regards, the entire Federal Capital Territory. What are some of the hot points with bad roads?
And you can just say, just from what you are just saying now, Durumi is just here. It's in the city.
It's in the city center.
And so,
yeah.
What happened to a road like Yebu to Kwaita, from Kwaita to Yebu, to Leda, to Gau, to Kwaku, the road in Shere Galwi, now down to Igu and Tokulu? What happened to the road in Almamagi, going to Gurdi and Rimba Ibagi? What happened to the road from Darka, Udingede, down up to Dudna? What happened to the road from Kuje to Pegi to Gaube to Kabi? I'm saying this offered because this is where I come from and I'm familiar with some of. If only we can open some of these roads.
What's the problem?
I wouldn't know, but most times it's funding.
Because even simple roads like Apokarshi,
yeah,
that everyone has been asking for.
Yeah.
Because it is a problem, not just to citizens,
yeah,
but to the FCT, even to the governance of the FCT.
Yeah.
It's a necessary road,
yeah,
the Apokarshi road,
so
that we can stop that problem that's happening at Maraba.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
No, that's what I keep saying, that what we're doing in Public Complaints Commission is not to look at anybody's face and maybe we don't like him, we want to just say things. The strength of whatever we say is based on the complaints we have. And then mostly what we also see, just like you're saying, some of these infrastructure are necessary to human development. They are necessary to even implementation of government policies and all of that. And so what we can keep saying is whatever it is, we know there are challenges of funding and all of that, but I know that route, Apo, Waru, Wasa Road, has been there for years. And then we actually cannot explain very vividly what's the problem. But I think government, FCTA, should find a way of fixing that road. Yes.
Is there going to be any hope of any of these major roads, that have been talked about and there have been so many complaints about? Is there going to be any hope of any of them being done
Yes.
before the end of this FCT minister's time in office?
I will say yes and no. Yes, because we believe in government, because we are in government and we know what the government is out there to do for the people.
So which ones? Which ones is he looking at?
I'm saying
first?
no because some of these details will be better said by the administration of FCTA.
Let's take a look at the population growth, because there's an explosion in population growth in the FCT. Is the administration of Abuja going to be able to handle the level of pressure it's going to put on the already existing debilitating infrastructure in the FCT?
I think it's a major challenge. Nobody should be cosmetic with the truth. Because if we don't check the influx of people coming into FCT, we'll still have the situation we have back then before and during Erufai, where he had to be very hard on the citizens, just to check the population growth.
When you say check, you mean not let people come in?
Not that. We have people who are coming to Abuja that has no business being in Abuja, for instance. Somebody who does not have where to stay in Abuja and he does not have a particular occupation he's doing that he's coming into Abuja to do, and then you ask yourself, what is bringing him to Abuja? Why is he living where he is? Abuja, the way I look at it, the model city, was not meant for everybody. That's why if you check the master plan, there are places earmarked for certain things. It's more or less like a civil service kind of a city there with some designated kind of human beings that will be here. Not everybody. If we say everybody should be in Abuja, then I don't know how we're going to handle it. And so we should have a measure, like I raised through my memo to the FCT administration, we should have a measure of checkmating some of this influx. Number one, and I repeat, we talk about the housing.
I was actually going to go there
because
there's a lot of demolitions going on right now. In fairness, there are a lot of demolitions going on right now, to check this massive influx of people who come in and don't have a place to stay. They always end up staying in shanties. And there are a lot of demolitions. But you get a lot of complaints from residents complaining about these demolitions. How do you balance both?
I think just like I'll try to answer the two about the influx. If you take a walk to Garki village, for instance, let's say about 10, 11, you will see people lying outside. Human being. That's just an example. And so many other places. What are they doing?
Well, Mr. Dalhatu, this is where we have to end our interview today. I know there's so much to talk about when it comes to the FCT, especially with you. Well, I want to thank you for joining us on the program. Thank you so much, Mr. Dalhatu.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine.
Thanks to Mr. Dalhatu for being with us on the program this week. But there's no rest for the wicked, sir. We still have some complaints for you from residents, if you don't mind. Kushimo Olufemi Oladipo on Facebook says, for the accelerated development of housing deficits and infrastructure, the FCT allocated land to private developers for the mass housing schemes. Most of them charge their homeowners infrastructure fees in millions and yet do not provide the required infrastructure and the access roads, thereby defrauding the public and the government. What is the government doing about this to bring accountability and redress? This is a very common scenario and cause for concern in Abuja. Kindly bring this up. Thank you. Arrow on Instagram says, road infrastructure at the Lugbe Federal Housing Authority axis have been on the FCT budget every year since El Rufai sold houses in Abuja. We need to know why that axis is still as it is. Keep the complaints coming, and yes, you can use the social media handles showing right now on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.